We told you last week that Sunrise Beach, the village of Sunrise Beach, looked to be buying a new building potentially, and there were some concerns from the locals.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it. They were talking about buying like a $600,000 building with a loan. Obviously, it's going to be more with interest. Can you afford that? I mean, that was our big question. I mean, if you're struggling right now, how can you afford that, right?
Right.
And you did a lot of legwork looking into that.
And had some great assistance. I'm telling you what, the lake has so many intelligent, diligent individuals who get involved with nothing to gain. And luckily, we've had a handful in this instance. Like you said, we told you last week about that. And I mentioned that the Village of Sunrise Beach Board of Trustees, they actually also serve on the Municipal Development Corporation, and they put in a full offer of $645,000 on the old Summit Natural Gas building in Sunrise Beach. Some of the concerns that were brought to our attention, Chris, were, like you said, can the city afford a new building, let alone a $650,000 building that needs a roof replaced and a projected $300,000 in renovations? Another concern was, is a new city hall the most pressing of issues currently facing the village of Sunrise Beach? Another question, why was there not more information or notice given to the public in regards to the purchasing of a new building? Why was the process rushed? And why was the full list price offered?
Yeah.
The other question, was there a potential conflict of interest with either the buyer or seller's agent having ties to or potentially even sitting on the Sunrise Beach Board of Trustees? Well, regardless of those concerns and how accurate they were, after an offer was officially submitted to purchase the old Summit Natural Gas building for $645,000, and come to find out, Chris, the initial $645,000 list price came with a $90,000 roof allowance, but the official offer submitted to the seller's agent by that Sunrise Beach Municipal Development Corporation was not only the full $645,000, but they got the roof allowance lowered to $50,000, which made no sense. So how is that for good representation on behalf of the citizens? Hey, citizens of the village of Sunrise Beach, not only do we put in a full offer on a new building that we may or may not need and may or may not be overpriced, but we got our allowance for the roof cut in half, and we really didn't tell you guys about it. So how is that for being heard by and representing the people? Now, there is good news, Chris. It appears we do have some strong and intelligent individuals involved. One worth noting is Steve Barthel, who is about to finish up his first year as trustee for Sunrise Beach, and he's really been the lone vocal member on the board who's been opposed to the new building, asked questions, thought it was overpriced, and ultimately thought there was a lack of information and transparency with the citizens. His voice ultimately caused citizens like Ron Yarbrough, Stephanie Crable to get involved, and I think the point there's been enough public opinion ended up leading to good news. After last week's meeting at City Hall, a mutual release was executed. So as of right now, the Village of Sunrise Beach is not on the hook for the $645,000 building. However, it does open up the question of, wait, if all this is true, does the Village of Sunrise Beach have the right elected officials for the people? The people of Sunrise Beach, that is. Whereas I don't want to be the one to answer that question for everybody, I encourage you all to look into some of this, ask those questions to City of Sunrise Beach officials, attend the trustee meetings, and for those of you 180 some voters inside the village, get ready to vote on Tuesday, April 4th, because if things stay the same, I would guess that probably wouldn't be the last potentially dangerous and risky fiscal decision made for the people of Sunrise Beach by the elected officials of the Village of Sunrise Beach. So very important election on April 4th, but good work by people who got involved, because there was enough of a fuss. That rush process ended up leading to a mutual release, and they're not under contract.
Right, you know, and I think with that kind of a deal that might have happened unless somebody kind of stepped up and said, hey, wait a minute. The people involved wouldn't have gotten in trouble. They're not the ones that would have gone bankrupt. Probably would have been the village of Sunrise Beach, right?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it's a good thing I got stepped in. What is on the ballot April 4th? Do you have any idea?
So there are 5 Board of Trustee members, including the chairperson, Debbie Stoller. She's been there 18 years. 2 of those seats are in their first year of a 2-year term, so those are not up for re-election. There are 3 seats open, including the chairperson's, Debbie Stoller. Now, after this election, regardless of if Debbie Stoller is re-elected, it would then be on the Board of Trustee 5 members, including herself or whoever won, to vote on who the chairperson is. Now, the Village of Sunrise Beach does not have a mayor. This chairperson serves as the mayor, and according to the budget, this chairperson actually gets a $15,000 stipend a year, which I believe might be the most money paid, salary stipend given to any mayor or chairperson for any of our local municipalities. And so that's the process there. 3 of those seats are up for Sunrise Beach, and I think that's the concern is, man, with the way some of these elected officials are maybe not doing anything inherently wrong, but they're not necessarily doing it right. And so when you enter an agreement like that for whatever reason, I mean, we laid out those reasons on why that seems to be fiscally irresponsible. I would begin to believe that this wouldn't be the last time that happened, and it probably wasn't the first over the last however many years that a deal like this has probably happened.
Well, and right and wrong, in today's world, right and wrong has gotten really, into a gray area. There's no more black and white, this is right, that's wrong. But in a situation like that, if you bankrupt the village by going out and buying a building you can't afford, that's wrong, right?
And here's,
in my opinion.
And here's what's weird, Chris, is it's illegal for a city to enter a financial agreement and purchase something, and there being a contract that would put the city futuristically on the hook.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to have this municipal development corporation, because they actually take the banknote, then they lease to the city, and that's the way it's set up for the current city hall. However, here's the problem with that. Set up by big government so they can keep control. At the end of each year, should the city of Sunrise Beach or the village of Sunrise Beach say we no longer want to lease this building, they can walk away with no problem, no slap on the wrist, no reprimand, no cause or no effect by that. Then the municipal corporation, they would be on the hook for that and essentially have to file bankruptcy. And then the county or the state would come in and essentially, potentially do away with the village of Sunrise Beach. So very important things that are taking place. And again, we commend some of the individuals who got involved, and we'll keep you posted. But more than anything, April 4th, not just in Sunrise Beach, but all of the local elections.
Yeah.
Make sure you know your precinct, make sure you know you're registered, and get out and vote.